But I wanted to show you, I've still got quite a bit of editing to do kind of in here in the middle. I also wanted to zoom in though. Depending on where you've cut, I did not place this particularly carefully, but I wanted to sort of zoom into the bottom and show you kind of some interesting conditions. Right here, I'm seeing basically one of these like little curving kind of mullion conditions, but it's not capped. For some reason, I think when I constructed that, it didn't have an edge, or maybe when I clipped through it, for some reason it's not showing as solid, but I can still read that these two belong to the same object. It's not helping me very much to have those in this section. It doesn't really help me understand. So when I go back to edit this, I'm gonna go ahead and erase these pieces, and you will see that they have been grouped automatically when I made 2D, so it's not hard to get rid of them. What is hard to get rid of is the patching together. And here I wanted to just remind you guys of your fillet tool. So let's take these out for a minute and see if we can just use that fillet really quickly. I don't know that I need all of these lines, but let's just assume for a minute that I'm trying to correct these lines and these lines. I'm just going to use the fillet this guy to this guy. Yeah, we got a little bit lumpy there, but I also am going to use the fillet over in these areas. What I'm seeing here, and it looks a little bit strange, but because I'm cutting through this profile, I'm getting a little bit of a sort of strange mullion there. And but what I'm going to do to kind of correct that is imagine that this is the mullion through section, and this is the mullion as it's receding toward the cave. So again, I'm going to want to fillet these two so that I really have the sense that this bar is continuing to this outer frame. So let's just see if we can use that fillet command again to get some of that to happen, because I want the rest of these to be behind that bar. So you really do need to kind of look in and think spatially. What would you be seeing if you cut through something? Because some of this information is really going to be too much. These are my mullions in the back. I want to keep them. These are my mullions in the front. And actually it seems like this is the mullion as it's wrapping around inside the bars. So I'm going to want to solidify that. I'm going to want to get rid of this. And you can see just doing a little bit of this cleanup, it's helping a lot. Also because when I cut through this section, I'm getting sort of an additional bit of a bar. That's actually one of these. I'm going to get rid of those too. When I look up toward the middle section, I'm really seeing a pretty tight correlation of this one bar, and I'm going to use that as my major bar and assume that these are kind of extraneous information. When I erase that, but I'm getting a much clearer indication of what's really happening there. And again, I'll use the fillet command. Let's see if we got fillet still in there to join these elements together. It's probably the easiest. It's probably a little bit easier than using the extend command. Okay, so trim and fillet I think are going to be really important as you're trying to correct these models. So I noticed as I was cleaning this up that the place that I've cut the section is very interesting because I think I have rotated this object. You'll see that these aren't exactly symmetrical around the center, right? So my object, when I constructed it, probably had a little bit of a spin. And the result is that I'm getting, over here, I'm seeing the kind of overhang of the mullion. And here, I'm seeing actually the mullion as it's traveling around the circle, and the overhang, the portion that sort of exists outside of this profile, is out here. When I was filleting these elements back together, I think I was not paying attention to this overlap. I was assuming it was errant information. But through thinking of it a little bit more, what I've discovered is it's actually the place where the mullion, the horizontal part of the mullion, exceeds the vertical part of the mullion. And so a more correction would be to add a line. So I'm actually going to just put this line in here, just a little bit faster. And now you're actually seeing almost the intersection of the vertical and the horizontal, which don't exactly align. And that's actually giving me much more information about the construction of this, of my bird cage.